All right, good evening everyone, and welcome to this regular meeting of the City Council of the City of Fort Walton Beach. Thank you all for being here this evening. If you do have an electronic device, if you could please make sure it's on silent or mute, because we usually get at least one a meeting, and it is very distracting. We will start the meeting with an invocation from Dr. Roger Pedro, chaplain of the HCA hospitals in Fort Walton Beach and Twin Cities. And then we will continue standing for the Pledge of Allegiance if you are so able.
May we pray. Loving God, once again we come to a time of sharing ideas and decisions, and I pray that these men and women would be able to speak with clarity in mind and purpose, and that they would be in tune with your Spirit to direct them. Thank you for being with us in every aspect of life that we have, and thank you for this venue and the ability to come and meet and share in such a way. We pray in Jesus' name. Amen.
Thank you, sir.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, council will need approval of tonight's agenda.
Make motion to approve the agenda.
Motion made by Councilwoman DeBerry, seconded by Councilman Schmidt for approval of tonight's agenda. Any additional comments? Please vote. Next up for your consideration, council, is tonight's consent agenda. Do we have any action on that?
So move tonight's consent agenda.
Second.
Motion made by Councilman Schmidt, seconded by Councilwoman DeBerry to approve tonight's consent agenda. Any additional comments on that?
No, sir.
Please vote. It does pass unanimously, which moves us to mayor and council comments. We start tonight with Councilman Brown.
Save mine for the end, Mayor.
All right. Councilwoman DeBerry.
I'll save it till the end.
Councilman Jeter.
Save for the end.
Councilman Merrill.
Let's do it. Save it to the end.
Councilwoman Riley.
I'll save it to the end.
Councilman Schmidt.
Let's do it to the end.
Yeah. I have a lot of comments that I'll save them to the end as well. We'll move on to public comments. If you want to comment on anything that's not on tonight's agenda, we'll give you 5 good minutes up here at the podium. Just come up and state your name and your address.
Cheryl Mulady, Fort Walton Beach, and when I walked into the door, the smell hit me right off, and even now I'm already getting hoarse, and I know we want a new building, but I was a decorator for years. If there is a particular product called elastomeric, you could at least put it on there and stop some of the mold, because you people, I mean, I know we want a new building, but I only have another 25 years left, you know, so in my lifetime there's not going to be one. But another thing I noticed when I come sometimes at night and it's dark, people aren't parked very well. They're parked in different ways, and we could give some attention to the striping. Maybe some people can't see the striping, and I noticed tonight it's very visible. And one more thing, I do think Mardi Gras is important.
What was the last part? I didn't catch that.
Oh, Mardi Gras. Okay, yeah, I didn't hear that. All right.
Oh, Mardi Gras is important.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Advocate for my God.
Yes, ma'am.
My name is Betty Buchanan, and I live on Hemlock Drive. So I am a neighbor in this for the rec center area, and I walk there daily in the mornings. I knew that they were doing an expansion project, but I didn't realize the extent to which some of it was going to be done. As I walked in Friday morning, I saw that the fence on the Hollywood side of the drainage ditch was down, and they were cutting some of those trees down that were in the area that was marked as entry prohibited, wildlife and natural conditions in area. So I went in and talked to David, and he took me out, and we both talked with the project manager there. And he said they were not clear cutting the trees. He had gone as far as what he was told to do. And I asked about the 2 trees down near Hollywood that are large oak trees. And he said those were supposed to come out too. So I do have some questions about that, because those are mature trees providing a lot of shade down there. And I know you have to plant a tree for every tree that you cut down. But if there is some way that we could save those trees, that would be 2 trees that would not have to be planted. And perhaps some of the extra area could be taken up by, instead of having a little aisle with a tree in it in the parking area, we could make that area in the parking spots. And then I just couldn't sleep Friday night after I had been over talking with David. It took me till wee hours to get to sleep. But I came up with a couple questions and maybe some solutions. One of them was, if we're going to have a lot of children in that parking lot area, the blueprints do not show any fencing going back on that side of the drainage ditch. My suggestion is that we get the fencing back up there, also along the sidewalk, and if the bridge is not going to have railing on it, then also for across there. Kids run around naturally. I would hate to see one of the kids to fall into that drainage ditch, get seriously injured, and for the city, the possible financial of a suit if a child were to fall in and get seriously injured. And then also I was thinking we perhaps need to put the same signage on that side with the fencing, as well as what's on the other side of the fencing with the prohibited entry, because that would probably lend a little bit more to the legal side that you tried to prevent, to keep people out of that area so that they wouldn't get hurt. I think that was all I had to say. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, ma'am. All sound like very reasonable suggestions, certainly. Anyone else from the public wish to speak? Seeing none, council will move on to item number 8, which is resolutions, and specifically Resolution 2026-1 to accept a FCCMA grant for internship program. Who's leading that?
I'll just talk to
Mr.
Davis.
Yes, sir.
Novik Shakes, we applied for a grant through FCCMA to fund a position. At the time, Daniel's team was really struggling, so I put it in under Public Works, but now he's made some strides with his staffing, so I was looking to put it under the IT department, and FCCMA pays for the entire thing. It's just resolutions required, so bring it before the council.
Fantastic. Anyone from council with a question on this for Mr. Davis? Anyone from the public wish to speak on this item? Council, do you wish to take any action tonight?
Mayor, so moved. Staff's recommendation to approve Resolution 2026-01.
I have a motion made by Councilman Schmidt, preemptively seconded by Councilwoman DeBerry, with much excitement, to approve Resolution 2026-01. Any additional comments, Councilman Schmidt?
Another grant, Mr. Berry.
She likes it. Anyone else? Council, please vote. It does pass unanimously, which brings us to ordinances on first reading. Ordinance 2194, amending the Land Development Code Section 5.04-11 for community residential homes. Mr. Gibson.
And actually, I'll read the title real quick, Mayor. It's Ordinance 2194, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Fort Walton Beach, Florida, creating Section 5.04.33 of the Land Development Code to update procedures for the review and approval of certified recovery residence requests to comply with Florida statutes, provide for authority, provide for severability, and provide for an effective date. This is a quasi-legislative hearing, and Mr. Tim Gibson is presenting on behalf of staff.
Hi, good evening. Tim Gibson, Growth Management Director. So this is a continuation of the item that we brought in December. We did receive the feedback from City Council at that time. This is all stemming from Section 397.487 of the Florida statute that was amended last year, requiring us to adopt procedures for review and approval of certified recovery residences. It was by January, but we're going to get it done now. Obviously in there. So a lot of the requirements in there was that there's a written application process, timelines for processing it, and really just the basic on how those are going to be handled if people do apply for them. Initially, we had planned on just amending Section 5.4.11 that is community residential homes, and just having it all as one thing there. Based on the feedback from City Council, we decided instead to go ahead and create its own section. So basically we're leaving the 5.4.11 community residential homes as is in the Land Development Code, and we just created a whole new section of LDC 5.4.33 for certified recovery residences. There's a lot of similarities, but there's enough differences in there that we went ahead and just basically took the language out of there and just created a separate section in there. And with that, staff respectfully recommends City Council adopt Ordinance 2194, which has Land Development Code Section 5.4.33, certified recovery residence, be consistent with amended Section 397.487 of Florida statutes.
Thank you, Mr. Gibson, for that presentation. Questions? Councilman Schmidt?
We talked about this, and one of the reasons why it was punted to this meeting was getting our city attorney to kind of look at some things on what we could and couldn't do by federal law. But is there any things in this update that make it still compliant and legal with federal law, but make it really challenging to have these inside of the R1s with 6 or fewer residents?
I can, yes. So what's called the Oxford House, those are still going to be allowable under federal law, but I do have it noted if SB 180 gets repealed, then there are a couple municipalities around the state who have passed ordinances to treat Oxford houses similar to this, and the Oxford houses are the ones that are not licensed either under as a community residential home or a certified recovery residence. They actually are like 6 tenants of whoever the owner of the property is, and they actually govern themselves like a council, and the owner doesn't have any power over them. And so that's what makes them different from like treatment facilities. And so they kind of govern themselves. They're the special classification that exists through United States Supreme Court opinions, and they're protected, but we can restrict them. But because of SB 180 right now, we can't do that. And the reason we can pass this even right now with SB 180 in place is because there happened to be a separate statute that got passed last legislative session that required this to be put in. So we kind of have to wait to see what happens this legislative session to get rid of the concern you have about Oxford houses.
Gotcha. Hypothetical.
Go ahead.
If SB 180 does pass, there is some things that we can do to make it more challenging or even discontinue the Oxford housing inside R1s.
You cannot discontinue it, but what you could do is set it up and have the same distance requirements like this has right now. Like this. So there's ones you can't have more than one within 1,000 feet of another.
So it really restrict the amount of Oxford houses that could come volume-wise. Awesome. All right, thank you, sir.
You got it, man. Anybody else? Questions for Mr. Gibson? Anyone from the public wish to speak on this item? Council, do you wish to take any action on this?
Mayor, so moved. Staff recommendation.
Second.
Motion made by Councilman Schmidt, seconded by Councilman Merrill to approve Ordinance 2194 on first reading. Any additional comments? Council, please vote. Does again pass unanimously, which moves us to Ordinance 2201. Mr. Burns.
Ordinance 2201, an ordinance of the City of Fort Walton Beach, Florida, establishing a temporary moratorium on the enforcement of the requirements for short-term rentals in Section 8.13 of the City Code of Ordinances, created by Ordinance Number 2181, providing for findings of fact, providing for a 6-month temporary moratorium recognizing pending litigation over the constitutionality of SB 180, recognizing that the Florida legislature may consider a bill modifying SB 180 in 2026, provide for severability, provide for the expiration of the moratorium on, it's actually supposed to be July 27th.
That's July 27, 2026.
July 27, 2026, and provide for an effective date. Sorry, the earlier version I had said June, and so I was just making sure. And so this is a quasi-legislative hearing. We're here on first reading, and Mr. Gibson will provide the report for staff.
So there is the background in your record there, but I think everyone out there is very familiar with SB 180 and the impacts of it. The short-term rental ordinance that we passed was one of those wrapped up in there. Since SB 180 was approved, we have not been enforcing it. Obviously, because we can't be, because of SB 180, this just really kind of formalizes the fact that we're unable to enact this at this time. I've spoken with Mr. Burns about this one. Obviously, this could be extended if we need to, or it can be canceled early if the SB 180 issues are resolved before then. With that, staff would recommend City Council adopt ordinance 2201 to enact a temporary moratorium on the enforcement of the requirements of short-term rentals set forth in section 8.13 of the City Code of Ordinances, expiring on July 27, 2026.
Thank you, sir. Quick question for Mr. Burns. You referenced earlier SB 180 and its possibility of being repealed. Is that something that's currently on the table, or is that just a rumor?
No, well, I checked last Friday, and it's still in committees right now, but Senator Gates is sponsoring it along with another member of the House. If he sponsors something, then typically we'll make it out of committee, and so I think the chances are pretty good we'll make it out of committee, but it still hasn't made it out of committee yet. If you know anything about the state legislature, that's the key thing. If it makes it out of committee, it's going to probably pass once it goes to the floor. So I'll be checking every few days on status.
Gotcha. Thank you, sir. Anyone with questions for Mr. Gibson on this, or Mr. Burns? Mr. Merrill?
There's a moratorium for this. If we decide to, if we don't decide to repeal it early or extend it, will it be brought again at that 6 months when it drops off to discuss then? Is it just naturally going to be brought up in 6 months if we haven't done
Well,
anything?
theoretically, if, say, in about 5 months, the SB 180 is repealed or the lawsuit happens or determined whatever, it's no longer an issue. At that point, really, we'll just have to make the decision. I mean, theoretically, it could just expire at the 6 month point, and then we can start enforcing it automatically at that point. If, say, the SB 180 is repealed in March, then we can just bring back another ordinance to basically undo the moratorium.
I guess that was my question. Is it gonna, if it does just expire, if something doesn't bring it to us again, is it just gonna expire and start?
Yes.
Okay, so it wouldn't really be brought to our attention again?
Correct. It would just expire at that point and move on. But really by that 6 month point, we're hoping we'll have a much better clarity on what's going to happen with that. Because if it's something where SB 180 is not going to go away and it's going to stay in there, we'll probably have to actually bring back action to repeal that former ordinance and just wipe it out. We just didn't want to do that right now because we're hoping that it will be changed, and rather than having to start from square one and redo it later on, we really just kind of wanted to put the hard pause on it for 6 months.
Appreciate it.
Councilman Schmidt.
If SB 180 is repealed through that, I believe it's SB 218, this board, I know staff put a lot of work into that ordinance with short-term rentals and the noise restrictions and all of the things that kind of beefed it up so that the intentions were not to have your micro hotels inside of the residential neighborhoods, to kind of really summarize it. Mm-hmm. Essentially, would that ordinance be brought back in the same time as we repeal the moratorium?
It's still in play. So right now, there's no moratorium in place, and staff, on the advice of council and kind of on their own determination as well, we agreed they need to not enforce it because that would violate SB 180. So it's there. If y'all do nothing and this just expires the moratorium, it's back on the books, fully enforceable. But what Mr. Gibson is kind of saying is probably at the 5 month mark, we think we need to extend the moratorium again because we think maybe if SB 180 is not repealed, but that lawsuit that's also been filed, then maybe say it's unconstitutional. And that's picking up speed. Looks like it's going to actually maybe result in judgment. We would probably come back and say, let's extend the moratorium for 6 months or another 9 months to see kind of what happens. But if that lawsuit reaches conclusion and they decide that it is constitutional, SB 180, and let's just say the legislature does not pass this repeal, then we would come back with something to repeal the short-term rental
moratorium.
Yeah.
But on
Or the whole ordinance, actually.
The whole ordinance, including the moratorium. But the other side of the workflow is if SB 218 that corrects SB 180 does pass, are we, I know this is just talking about the moratorium tonight, but are we looking into removing the moratorium?
Soon.
And then,
Yeah.
okay, and then adding some of those very restrictive things in that ordinance that we did, I believe, pass?
They're still there.
They're still there, but
So
SB
we wouldn't
180
have to-
said, hey, you can't do this. All that work you did, the second reading, all that stuff, discontinued because of SB 180.
Right.
If SB 218 corrects SB 180, that
Then the
ordinance that we
only
have in
thing
place
back
that
is
really
moratorium.
restricts the mic copy. Thank you, sir.
Once the moratorium either expired or the council makes a decision before then to repeal the moratorium, then it's fully enforceable. All the rules that we went through, all that's going to stay exactly the
Right.
same. We don't have to kind of relitigate that whole process
We
again.
don't have to go through a first reading and a
Correct.
second reading of trying to mitigate those micro hotels
100%.
inside of the R1s and all that. Awesome. Thank you, sir.
Anybody else? Questions? Anyone from the public wish to speak on this? Council, do you wish to take some action?
So moved to adopt the moratorium on the short-term rental ordinance
2201.
2201.
Second.
Thank you.
Motion made by Councilman Merrill, seconded by Councilman Schmidt to approve ordinance 2201, providing a temporary moratorium on short-term rentals. Any additional comments?
Thank you for staying in front of this, staff and city attorney, especially with legislative session starting, I believe, today or tomorrow, so thank you.
Council, please vote. And it does pass unanimously, which brings us to ordinance 2202, an ordinance amending the comprehensive plan, Mr. Burns.
Ordinance 2202, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Fort Walton Beach, Florida, amending the comprehensive plan of the city, provide for consistency, provide for severability, and provide for an effective date. This is first reading. It's a quasi-legislative hearing, and Mr. Tim Gibson is going to present.
Sir.
Good evening again. So with comprehensive plan amendments, there's a couple of different ways we can do it. We did one about a year and a half ago, if you remember, to change some of the manufacturing definitions and potentially change or allow the creation of the MX3 zoning district. Those are voluntary changes that we made to there. There's other times where it's mandated by the state that we make these amendments in there. So approximately every 7 years, we have to complete an evaluation and appraisal report. And what that entails is we have to examine any new changes in Florida statutes that may have happened that may now make our comprehensive plan not follow Florida statutes. In this case, when we did the EAR, we did discover in there that there has been a change in Florida statutes that require us, in the previous comp plan, we identified a 5-year and a 10-year planning period. The Florida statute now requires us to have a 10-year and a 20-year planning period in there. So based on that and the EAR happening in there, we submitted that back to the state and said, we're going to have to rewrite this. This is kind of a juggling act one as well because of SB 180. It does not only affect your land development code and your code of ordinances, it also affects your comprehensive plan. So we're restricted on what we can change, but we did have to make the amendment in there to include those. This is a full review in there. Like the past one we did, we only amended those few sections and the state only evaluated those few sections. This one, they're going to be evaluating the entire comprehensive plan as well. So with that, my staff did go through and we made a lot of the changes in here. Did hear back from several municipalities in the area that were also going through their comprehensive plan amendments, and the state is being very restrictive as it comes to 180. Almost invariably, all of them had their comprehensive plan rewrites sent back to them because of SB 180 violations in their changes in there. So we try to keep these very basic and simple as we can. I'll run through all the changes as quickly as you want, but if you've got any questions or input on any of these or any other stuff that in the comprehensive plan that you want to see, just speak up and we can figure it out from there. So in element A, the future land use section of there, well, a lot of the stuff is obviously in there. We make minor changes to change like the date of the future land use map that's in there. We corrected a typo.
the CIU. Future land use was incorrectly referenced as CIE, some minor changes in there. In policy 8.2.4, it referenced creation of like a downtown design guideline. As you all know, we've just adopted that recently, so we revised the language in there for that adoption. We wanted to recommending deleting policy 8.8.2. It basically had in there, it talks about an advisory board for historic buildings that were to assist in submittal of nominations for historic sites. Obviously, those are not super common, and staff believes that we can kind of handle those as a one-off situation. We don't currently have an advisory board for this, and since we don't have that and don't have too many of them, we're recommending that be deleted out of there. In element B, we did revise language in policy B.5.1. In there, it talks about that the local planning agency shall be responsible to explore alternate rights of way and some things like that. Obviously, stuff like that would run through the LPA and to City Council. We just felt it read better that saying the city staff will be responsible for exploring those rights of ways and stuff in there. We're not proposing any changes into element C. In element D, we did revise the language in there, reference that 10 and 20 year planning cycle is the only changes we made in element D. In element E, we're recommending elimination of policy E.7.2. It talks about, and there's several references in here about green inspectors and green buildings. Currently, none of our inspectors are green qualified. It does take quite a bit to just even get LEED is the typical one in there to get LEED certified. Take quite a bit to become a LEED inspector. Is a very intense process, and it's just something we've never had since I've been here for 6 years. We've never had anybody apply for any of that kind of stuff, and the cost and time associated with that would be pretty intense. So we're just recommending that that be deleted out of there. In element EE. We just revised the language in there, reference to the current edition of the building code. In element F, it just changed it. It was referenced in there, the Temple Mound as opposed to the Heritage Park and Cultural Center. In element G was another change that we had to make for the 10 and 20 year planning cycle.
Mr. Gibson?
Yes, sir.
I I don't want you to have to go through this entire thing, reading these off. And I know that the council has reviewed these items, and I know you've put a lot of work into this. I would just like to open it up to the council to ask if they had any questions on any of these changes and then the public, and that way you won't have to explain all of your work here, because it is a lot of work. Council, any questions on this ordinance and all of its amendments to the comprehensive plan?
I have
Ms. DeBerry, yes.
It tickled me whenever I read this 2.11.16. As the city does not have any specific culinary experiences coordinated, where did that come from? I didn't know that we ever had any culinary experiences.
I don't know. That's what was in the comprehensive plan that was passed in 2018-2019 timeframe. It specifically said that we're going to create these things. There's several things in there, like a historic tour, a historic military tour, and the culinary experiences. It's just stuff that's...
Oh, that's okay. That was one of the that stuck out.
Eliminated and removed from there, since it's not happening.
Just some more outdated language. Any other questions, Mr. Burns?
Because I know in the past, a few council members have talked about, and I've told Tim, this might be the only one that might generate discussion at the LPA meetings, because I know some of the council members have talked about before, and it's very, but it'll be eliminating the policy that says the city is pursuing a boardwalk project, just so everyone's aware.
Gotcha. All right. Anyone else with questions for Mr. Gibson on this? Would anyone from the public wish to speak on this ordinance amending the comprehensive plan? Council, do you wish to take any action tonight?
So moved to adopt staff's recommendation of ordinance number 2202 to amend the comprehensive plan.
Second.
Motion made by Councilman Jeter, seconded by Councilwoman Riley to approve ordinance 2202 and amend the comprehensive plan as Mr. Gibson has laid out there for us. Any additional comments?
Thank you, Mr. Gibson, your team, for, that's a lot of outdated language that's updated in here, so thank you for that thorough review and update.
Anyone else? No. Council, please vote. And the motion does pass unanimously. Which brings us to appointments. Ms. Barnes.
Thank you, Mayor. On the Fort Walton Beach Housing Authority Board, Ms. Lynette Wolfgram's term is expiring in early February, and she has expressed an interest to continue to serve another term because the terms are not limited with the Housing Authority. And we have no other applications on file, so staff respectfully recommends the mayor reappoint with city council approval Ms. Lynette Wolfgram to the Fort Walton Beach Housing Authority Board of Directors for a 4-year term to expire February 15th, 2030. And I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, ma'am. Questions for Ms. Barnes? Seeing none, council, do you wish to make an appointment?
So moved to appoint Ms. Lynette Wolfgram to the Fort Walton Beach Housing Authority Board for a 4-year term expiring February 15th, 2030.
Second.
Motion made by Councilman Jeter, seconded by Councilwoman DeBerry to reappoint Ms. Lynette Wolfgram to the Fort Walton Beach Housing Authority Board. Any additional comments?
Ms. Wolfram here?
I don't believe so.
Please
She is-
pass on our appreciation to Ms. Wolfram.
She's been serving since 2010, so quite a while.
Wow.
And I
Fantastic.
do run all of these by Ms. Scale with the Housing Authority as well, so.
Well, I have,
Yes,
yeah,
ma'am.
if she's been in position for 2010, you tell her I absolutely appreciate the works that she has done. That's a long time, and obviously there's some consistency and dedication.
We should send her like a box of candy. Pretty nice. All right, council, please vote.
Like a payday candy bar.
Not too fancy.
Mr. Mayor.
I thought I clicked it.
And it does pass unanimously, which brings us to item 11.1, request for a major development order for Ashton's Place, 105 Carson Drive Southeast. Mr. Gibson.
And Tim, before we get started, I'll put you under oath and then also ask the colloquy if any. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and the truth so be God?
I do.
Is the applicant here too, Mr. Gray? You saying do? Do you all swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and the truth so be God? Then you say you're under oath. And council, just because these both will be quasi-judicial hearings, this one and the next one, we can handle them together. I'll just ask if any of the board members had any communications with any members of the public or the applicants prior to today's meeting.
Just received an email from Mr. Gray today regarding the outline of the project and just replied, thank you for sending the information.
And anyone else receive any?
I received the email also,
And Ms. Riley, I think you indicate you will be
recusing myself.
recuse yourself anyway. But she has an ethical issue about the form. But other than Ms. Riley and Mayor Allegretto, anyone else receive any communications? So Mayor Allegretto, will you be able to base your decision on both hearings here today on the evidence that's provided at the hearing itself?
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right, that's all I have.
Mr. Gibson.
Hi, good evening again. So this is a major development, the first part of this is the major development order. Our land development code does outline really the 3 different times that we have major development orders. This is one because of the development agreement that's coming with this, and the development agreement is because of the workforce housing in there. This is a pretty straightforward development order as it is though. On May 14, 2025, Growth Management did receive the application for the major development order for Ashton's Place. It did go through all the reviews on there and everything was completed review-wise on December 3rd, 2025. This is, again, staff looks at it just like we do every development order that happens in the city. There's a lot of back and forth with typically with the design professional and just making sure that everything meets the land development code. This does. All the specifics are outlined in there, but under the project description. But ultimately, it all meets the land development code requirements in there right now as it is. Staff does find that it is in compliance with the city's comprehensive plan and the land development code. From the financial side of this, on the major development order side, there's really no financial impact it will come into play on the development agreement side that's going to be next. With that, staff respectfully recommends City Council authorization for the mayor to execute the major development order for the development of a 3-unit multifamily building located at 105 Carson Drive Southeast.
Thank you, sir. Questions on this for Mr. Gibson? Anyone from the public wish to speak on this item?
And the applicant does have a right to speak too, so they can come up and speak if they'd like as well.
Sure. If you'd like, Mr. Gray. If not, you certainly don't have to. Anyone from the public wish to speak? Seeing none, council, do you wish to take any action on this item?
Mayor, so moved. Staff recommendation.
Second.
Motion made by Councilman Schmidt, seconded by Councilman Jeter for City Council approval of a major development order for Ashton's Place located at 105 Carson Drive Southeast for the development of a 3-unit multi-family building. Any additional comments from the council?
Appreciate the applicant getting it to this point. I know that resolution for some of that funding has been there, and we wanted all the applicants to get to this point, and here it is. So thank you for getting the T's crossed and the I's dotted, and hopefully the majority of the council will fill this out.
Well said, sir. Anyone else? Council, please vote.
Do you have a abstain on your?
Oh, you got a yellow.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't see
Okay.
that. First time I've ever abstained.
The motion does pass unanimously with one abstention, which brings us to item 11.2, consideration of a development agreement for Ashton's Place. Do you need to swear anyone in again, Mr. Burns? Or
No, but
still
so the
holds
record's
ours?
clear in the minutes, because if anyone ever reviews this, so it's clear. All the witnesses were sworn in at the previous agenda item, and the council members were all administered the colloquy regarding any ex parte communications. So all those findings will be adopted for this hearing.
Perfect. Mr. Gibson.
All right. So on this one, the application for the development agreement actually came in several years ago. This was back whenever the workforce housing incentive funding was first created. We did receive the multitude of them. We did go through the multitude of council meetings to determine how that money was going to be allocated. Around that, there was the 2 different levels for the larger project, for the smaller project, and it was ultimately decided that $75,000 per unit of workforce housing would be afforded to the smaller developments in there. On this one, it does in a Land Development Code section 4.10.6, it does identify all the requirements that have to be in there to be eligible for the incentive funding, and the applicant has complied with all of those. There is a deed restriction that is part of the attachment on there that will be done. Much of this is going to be very similar to the development agreement that was done with the Housing Authority as far as deed restrictions and stuff that are on there. And so all of that will be on there. For the financial information on this one, again, that's $150,000 total because they will be providing 2 of the 3 units at workforce rates for the period of 15 years in there. One point of discussion on this one, I believe Mr. Gray is going to come up and ask when the decision was made on how the money would be allocated. The question came up about when it would be allocated. The last guidance from council at that point in time would be that the funding would be distributed once the foundation survey and all the foundation work was completed and approved. At that point, that would be allocated out of there. Like I said, I'll let Mr. Gray explain what his request is on that one, but that's the only thing that potential on that one. And with that, staff respectfully recommends City Council authorization to execute a development agreement between UM Development LLC and the City of Fort Walton Beach.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Gray, you wish to speak on this?
And while Mr. Gray is approaching, Ms. Riley, for the record, you're also abstaining from this.
That's correct.
Barry Gray, 217 Burnett Avenue. Before I get started, I want to thank Tim and his department. They was great working with us on the project. Took a while. We've been working on it now, I think, for 2.5, 3 years. And we also just bought 103 Carson to build 6 units. When I met with Tim, when we first started this project, that was 2 councils ago. and there was another city manager. When they first started, I was going to the workshop. Then they had it where you get the funds when you did the development agreement. Then we had a new council come in, then decided to change things, and that's when they had to rewrite it. And I was just asking Tim, right now, ourselves, we have, and on that project, almost $300,000 spent on that site right now. And I was asking him about, could we get a 25% draw? Because when you get financing, most of the time is you get draws once you complete different phases. That will help us get started. I mean, if we don't get it, it's gonna happen. But that's a request. I'm not asking you to vote on it tonight, but if you can think about it and vote on the next city council. But like we want to get the development agreement where we can draw down that 25% and then the other 75% once we finish the foundation. You know, I wanted the council to take that into consideration because when we started with this project, that was the agreement. When I signed the development agreement, then it was changed, you know, in the middle of the river. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gray. Questions, Mr. Gier?
Is the land owned outright by UM Development, or is it?
Yes, sir.
So there's no current lien or anything in place?
Yes, sir, on both lots.
That is how it works. Once you get it, most banks will only front you a draw if the lot is completely paid for. And it's pretty much your draw lot to get started.
Yes, sir.
If not, it would be after certain phases and it's broken down. You've seen it before.
Yes, sir.
1%, 3%. As once you finish certain stages, you may get 6% of the draw or
Yes, sir.
50% of the draw, but it is owned outright with no lien.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions, Councilman Schmidt?
Does this come back in front of the council after this agreement is considered? I don't think it does it? So we probably need to hash that out now, right?
Yes.
Okay, just responding to what, you know, he said, I don't think we have any time to really sleep on it, but, you know, I'm
We'll
supportive.
come back for a second.
It will come back for a second reading, so we don't need to hash it
So
out.
if any changes you want to make in there for the development agreement, we can make those changes and bring it back for the second reading in 2 weeks.
Gotcha.
So the development order doesn't come back, but the development agreement will.
Okay, all right, thank you, that's my question.
Perfect. Anyone else questions for Mr. Gray or Mr. Gibson?
And just so you know, you'll be amending section 4 of the development agreement if you agree with giving a draw. Did you say it was 25%? You'd like 25%?
25%.
Right
Yes.
now? So, okay, so that, if you do agree with Mr. Gray, you need to put that in motion.
Gotcha. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. Gray.
Thank you.
Anyone from the public wish to speak on this? Council, do you wish to take any action tonight?
Mayor, I move to continue to support this project with $150,000 to improve and continue to improve, thanks to Mr. Gray's Carson Avenue, but with the $150,000 at the completion of the project.
Second.
Motion made by Councilman Schmidt, seconded by Councilwoman DeBerry to recommend, or rather to execute a development agreement with UM Development LLC for Ashton's Place multifamily workforce development at 105 Carson Drive Southeast as is. Any additional comments?
I want to thank Mr. Gray for continuing to clean up Carson and making these products look so much better. Carson Drive is getting, like he mentioned, they started working on this a few councils ago, and sound side apartments and those things as well. Carson Drive continues to improve. Thank you, Gail and her team. So, completely supportive of the project. Let's see the project get done. I know he might have other financial obligations and things he's working with. I have full confidence that Mr. Gray and his team will complete the project. I would just like to allocate those taxpayers' dollars when the project's done.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else?
And just to be clear, it's not,
Mr. Merrill.
it won't be when the project, that's just once the foundation, right? Once the foundation.
Thanks for the clarification. No, the completed project.
So that would change when he would get the money typically.
Yeah, like Mr. Burns said, it would change this section.
So actually, the default development agreement that's before y'all tonight actually does have him receiving the funding once the foundation inspection is completed.
This motion includes the project, the completed project, the 100% complete, whenever they would get their CO or.
Okay.
We have a motion.
Yeah. I would say we would at least keep it to how, if we had set it up like that and with the monies invested, I feel like we would have to I feel like I would rather work with you as a partner in this and say we could come to some agreement. I'm open to it because you're working with the city and you're doing things. So I couldn't support that at the end. I would at most default to the original agreement, but I would be open if council is to something to help that project. We want to encourage this type of development. They've done many before. I would be open to keeping the original when the foundation is set and possibly considering something, if not the full 25% you requested, something to help them finish the project. That's my personal opinion.
Mr. Davis?
And just for everybody to completely understand some of the conversations that I've had is, I think the ball has moved a little bit each time he's come here. So what I'm accustomed to is payment upon deliverable, just in construction project management. So if the deliverable is, we need to go get the drawings done, it costs $25,000, go do the drawings, we'll give you that money to do that, and you bring that back, and so on and so forth. So I think that keeps the project moving and doesn't change that timeline. I mean, I have no problem managing that from the city's perspective if that's a concern. So if the deliverable is go get the drawings to do the pour and the 25,000 or the 25% covers that, then get it, and then we can. Does that make sense? I'm doing a bad job of rambling there, but I think we can manage that internally. And I'm just used to a deliverable payment as opposed to waiting all the way to the end. It's just easier to manage, you know, in those.
Yeah, fair enough. I like seeing the projects though where, I mean, yeah, we're working with them, they're partners, and they're going to get some incentives for using taxpayers' dollars, but I'd like to see the developer complete the project and then we get the
part that kind of left out is, this is the only money we have to do this forever. I guess the city got some money.
Yep.
Long before I started to do this, and there's 2 projects identified, Mr. Gray and
Sabu's project.
Yeah,
And then
so,
Gales.
and then once this money's done, this is never coming back to us again unless there's another
That's right.
windfall of money, so to speak. So I think once this project's done,
Hopefully we're not in this business again,
So trying to, again, keep it moving forward, I think we're all on the same page there, and I have no problem having staff oversee that part, if that helps.
Thank you. Councilman Jeter.
Yeah, I'm not going to support the current motion. The way it's stated, I will support what Mr. Davis has said. Barry, you've been coming in here for 3 years, so I got full confidence that you're going to get this project done. You've jumped through every hoop, gotten to this point. It's been multiple councils. The ball has been moved. I don't want to go as far as to say, I'm sure you've seen one before. Anybody who's gotten a construction loan has seen the breakdown of every percentage. But if Mr. Davis is willing to take it on and oversee this, I think there does need to be some performance-based pay along the way. And I don't want to break it down as the 1s and 2% because it can be broken down very, very, there could be 50 line items on there that are broken down. Can we do something, once you get the slab done, you're going to finish this project, would you be open to, some money once you get the slab completed, as that being your first draw, and then the rest of it at the end of the project, or along the way, or breaking it up 2 or 3 different times? That way it covers both sides here.
Can I interject just so the agreement already, which is the one that the housing authority received, they got 100% once the foundation, so the concrete was laid and all the other work associated with the foundation was completed. They got 100% of the draw at that moment. And I think he was asking maybe to have 2 bullet points. He said not 100, to have 25% now and then the other 75% after the foundation.
But if all 3 of these are approved at the same time, doing the same thing, shouldn't we keep them all the same?
Yes.
Wouldn't that be better?
If that's
not
the policy decision.
So I'm not going to support the current motion, but I will support the next, any motion that resembles the first way we've already done this, so that everything stays the same.
That would be approving the development agreement as presented to the council.
Correct. So there's a motion and a second. I'm not going to support the current motion. We'll see what happens after that.
Is there a second?
Yeah.
There is a second.
There was a second. All right. Anyone else wish to speak on this?
Yeah, we took a lot of outside of Robert's Rules of Order right there, Mr. Mayor, but I'm fine with it. I'm fine with it if you are. All right, if there is no more comments, I would like to make a closing comment. I got full, complete confidence in Mr. Gray. I don't want this to turn into a project I don't have confidence in him. I'm just trying to negotiate when the time to negotiate. I appreciate City Attorney Byrne bringing the information about the precedence that's been set with Ms. Sansbury and her team. It's a lot more in line into what Mr. Gray's request is. That gives some new information, so I appreciate that.
All right. Council.
Public comments before the vote, if you didn't already.
I did.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Council, please vote. All right, so the motion does not carry. Anyone on council wish to make a different motion?
I'll make a motion to approve Mr. Berry's ask for the 25%. And I appreciate you, Mr. Davis, but it's simple, it's done, you've worked with the city, and then the 75% upon completion of this one.
Second.
All right, so your motion is to approve the development agreement with UM Development LLC for Ashton's Place multifamily workforce development at 105 Carson Drive Southeast. And the only modification that you're making is giving him 25% now, and then the other 75% on completion of the slab. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. Thank you for the clarity.
Just so everyone's clear.
And all foundation work, maybe the slab.
Thank you.
As it states in the agreement. Okay. Any additional comments?
Yes. Oh, please go.
Now you get the motion, go ahead.
Yeah.
I have worked with the city. It's one of the reasons I'm on the board, because it's working with government as good as people are, as much as they want to work with you. Sometimes it's difficult because it's difficult. You talked about doing this project 2 councils ago, 3 years working this with Mr. Gibson. You've been there, you've done it. You guys have completed many projects. I think we need to be a city that recognizes that and makes it easier to get stuff like this done. It's such a good project you're doing, so that's why I supported what you asked for.
Thank you, sir. Additional comments? Mr. G.
I will support the motion. I'm just ready to see the project get done. Let's get it done, Barry.
Anyone else?
Just,
Councilman Schmidt.
we have Mr. Gray here and Ms. Sansbury here as well, and the third applicant is not here, but looking forward to supporting this motion, supporting this project, and then after this 1.5 million that was dedicated like 5 years ago is out, I'm out. And it just really gets a lot on staff to manage it. I know he doesn't mind managing it and different, disbursements and things like that. But just wanted to put that out there, as I'm sure we'll get pulled in different directions on future budgets to put more housing money in there. But that's all I got, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else? Council, please vote. Motion does pass unanimously with 1 abstention. Brings us to item 11.3, amending the purchasing policy to update outdated language and procurement requirements regarding written quotes. Ms. Neighbors.
Thank you, Mayor. Mostly this is just an administrative agenda item to update some old language that we have in the policy to mimic what you guys have voted on already. As you guys already know, the 2 big things, about a year ago, it was $20,000 we had to bring to you guys for approval, then went up to 50, and now it's 100. Well, internally for our staff, we have to get 3 quotes like under $5,000. So we're just asking to bring it up to $9,999 just to kind of put some relief on our staff, as well as we kind of pigeonhole some vendors when we go out to bid, because our purchasing policy states that local, like there's like a 5% sometimes local preference in certain bids, and it's only to Fort Walton, but you have businesses that are in Cinco that are like closer than other Fort Walton businesses. So we try to broaden that to Walton, Escambia, and just like the kind of county area, just to make it a little more competitive between vendors. So staff respectfully recommends City Council approval of the revised administrative policy number Finance 9, purchasing effective upon adoption.
Thank you, ma'am. Questions for Ms. Neighbors on this? Anyone from the public wish to speak on this item? Council, it's up to you.
Mayor, so moved. Staff's recommendation to revise the administrative policy number FIN-09, purchasing effective upon adoption.
Second. Motion made by Councilman Schmidt, seconded by Councilman Browning. to approve staff's recommendation revising that policy. Any additional comments?
No, sir.
Council, please vote. And it does pass unanimously. It brings us to the discussion to amend Resolution 2025-29, Rules of Procedure for City Council Meetings. Mr. Burns.
And council, at the last meeting on December 16th, the council passed Resolution 2529. And during the discussion, there were some items that Mr. Browning and I believe some other council members started to discuss. And I asked that the councils go and pass 2529 as presented at that time. Because the subject matter was completely different to make those changes to 2529. But since that, the last meeting, Mr. Browning emailed all of his potential changes to Resolution 2529 to me. And I reproduced those in the staff report. And the only changes I made to it were he'd sent them first person. I changed it to third person. So if someone reads it, it doesn't sound like that he's talking to them. But there are 4 separate changes that he is recommending, and there were no other changes that any other council members recommended, so this would be the time once you all start to discuss if y'all want to make additional changes on top of what he's listed here. But the 4 categories that he has suggested changing are to change paragraph 6.1, that's already in the existing Resolution 2529, to remove the first round of council comments and just keep the second round. His second suggested change is to require a majority vote of the council to add an agenda item. And then the third item is he recommends requiring a supermajority vote to suspend Robert's Rules of Order. And then the last item he wants to do is to add actually a new provision to the charter, or not the charter, but to the resolution that recommends adding language that no single council member may direct city staff or any chartered officer to take action that directly impacts the budget or a city department or division without a majority vote of the council. And so those are the 4 changes he's recommended. I think I could probably just turn it over to council, maybe Mr. Browning, if he wants to present his rationale for those items at this point in time.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Browning, anything to add?
No, just the rationale is there. If anybody has any questions, then I'm here.
Gotcha. Council, questions on these items or any discussion?
If we have a good relationship with staff. Me just being new to this, understanding this, I bring something to Mr. Davis in the way it would work. Previously, you could then add that to the agenda. Is that something? But now, what we do, maybe we discuss something and then say, hey, bring this up, bring it here, and then that item would then be voted on to have him or anybody in staff pursue something. I'm just trying to wrap my head around the 6.2.
Yeah, the way that it used to be is council would ask for a majority vote. I feel like that's what it used to be. And then the mayor could add agenda items, and so could the city manager. The problem that arose was that items that council was requesting to be placed on the agenda was not being placed on the agenda. And so it created some tension. And this is just from outside looking in. I wasn't up here. I was sitting out there as an employee. But, you know, we hired the city manager that we wanted as a body. We're a new body. It's totally different. And this just, you know, makes it more efficient at getting things done instead of continuously adding agenda items after agenda items of individual items that people want. So yes, to answer your question, you can either bring it up here in your comments, or he could mention, hey, somebody said they wanted this to come up, and you can talk on it and ask for a second, and 2 other people can vote on it. Hopefully, you know, get your item added in the next agenda, or you know, we can modify it to allow the city manager to add items on it again, or whatever.
Gotcha.
So I mean, I'm wrapping my head around that as well. I almost feel like that's how we do it now. So I have, you know, 7 of you. One of you will ask me for something. I'll put it in my weekly report, and then it comes to council when somebody says, hey, let's, for example, daycare. Somebody asked me about it, we did the homework, brought it up here, it became an agenda item. Same thing with sanitation. So I feel like we're doing that now, but.
Well,
There, you just
sanitation,
codifying it.
sanitation and daycare, I both asked, it didn't come up, I asked for those items to be put on the agenda. But I'm using the same thing, I've added this to the agenda. None of y'all may have wanted to even talk about it, so if I don't have the majority of the council as a body support to talk about it, then we don't talk about it. I mean, or you can go to the city manager and ask to get it placed on, or if the mayor has something that he wants to put on, like how it used to be before the previous council changed this. But like right now, I can, in my final comments, can say I want to talk about the golf course next, and it's added to the agenda, but nobody else may have thought it necessary to talk about it.
I got you.
And I think, I talked to Mr. Brown beforehand, and he explained his rationale to me. I think, and probably Mr. Schmidt could probably provide context, since he was the council, and Mr. Allegretto, since y'all were part of the old process before the 2023 amendment. But I believe back then it was the practice to either do as Mr. Browning indicated, at a meeting you would get a motion and a second to add to another agenda, or you would politely ask the mayor or city manager if they would do it, but they weren't required to do it. Of course, the change that was made back in 2023 requires the city manager, one of the council members does ask, outside of the meeting, requires the city manager to put that item on.
Or inside the meeting.
That's correct.
I'm serious. That's the way I've seen it happen more often than not, is somebody just goes, oh, by the way, I think we should talk about paper clips next time. Get a better deal. I do have a question on this situation, and I think it's probably more for Mr. Burns or Mr. Davis. The final and new paragraph, direction to staff and chartered officers. So I feel like I know this, where this comes from. Basically, if somebody says to the city attorney, hey, I want you to draft a resolution that we're going to discuss whether or not we want to take action on it as a council member, and then you do that, you don't do that for free. So that does impact the city's budget, right? I mean, I know obviously we've allocated so many dollars in a budget to pay a city attorney, and if those hours aren't used, whatever, but if there's more hours used because of somebody on council unilaterally deciding, I want you to do this, that could be an issue. And that's the feeling behind it. Is that correct?
Yeah, I mean.
Well, to explain on that particular issue, because I have had council members ask me to do stuff that I've had to politely say no unless I get a vote or consensus of the council.
Right.
My contract states I'll research anything for anyone individually. So that technically would be an increase on the budget, because you're asking me to research an item. I'll always do that for you. And you can always ask me ethical questions and items like that. If you're ever asking me to draft something that's going to be a formal document like a resolution, I would want that brought before the council first. I would not feel comfortable under my contract doing that. Just doing that.
Okay. So, I mean, is that really the only motivation behind that item?
No, I mean, the daycare situation, the sanitation situation, there's no transparency with it at all. It's all done. I get asking to get things done, but then all the legwork that's done, but it was never directed, it was never talked about up here. So I feel like certain things should be spoken in a public forum and decided as a body instead of an individual.
And so the impact to the budget or department or division without a majority vote of council in those two situations was all of the legwork, staff hours, time, et cetera?
Exactly.
Okay. That's just what I'm asking.
Right. No, yeah, I agree. It's anything that's going to possibly change the budget. So changing, it could be good, it could be bad, getting rid of sanitation, depending on how you look at it, getting rid of childcare, depending on how you look at it, that changes the budget either way. So decisions like that is made up here to say, hey, go forth and look into this, or go forth and get a RFQ for certain items, or look in-house first, or whatever the situation is.
Some of that I feel like we should do that on our own though. It's just process evaluation to make sure We don't know what we don't know, right? So I still want to evaluate my programs. Things change and our business model changes, and if we don't evaluate it annually just to see where we're at, you get 10 years down the road and you have a daycare that's losing $120,000, you don't know. So you should do that anyway on your own,
Right.
just process management. But in terms of making a change, I would always bring that before council anyway. But I think putting it in codifying it, if you will, when you guys get tired of me, move me out the door, right? You're gonna bring a new dude and he has marching orders, so. Make sense?
Yeah.
All right.
And if y'all do plan on adopting that, I would just ask that you modify it slightly and say outside of legal advice on the budget item too, because anytime you ask me, I'm required to provide that legal advice, and that does technically necessitate research sometimes too. So.
Yeah. Councilman Schmidt.
The clarification on what's increasing the budget by asking staff to add something to the agenda?
It's not increasing, it would be the
Impact, what's impacting the budget?
the final thing, right? So if we got rid, if say I say, hey, let's get rid of HR, we don't need it, right? I mean, obviously I'm not going to do that. Me asking that question doesn't impact the budget, but getting rid of HR would impact the budget. It could impact it positively or it can impact it negatively, but either way, it's impacting the budget. The final, you know, the final solution is what impacts the budget. Asking the question is not. I mean, it does when you, for obviously when you're talking to Mr. Burns, but those big ticket items I just feel like should be transparent and talked about up here and not. I mean, of course, I talk to him all the time. I talk to Mr. Burns all the time. I talk to Kim all the time about items that may impact the budget or something, and then it's seeking advice, and then I'll bring it up here if I want to talk about it, versus saying, and this is all just personal opinion, instead of saying like, hey, I want possible sanitation, and I get looking into it and evaluating it, but then doing all the legwork and doing all this stuff and providing all the documents and all the stuff, and then we're getting told all the information before we're even coming up here and discussing it. We have the final everything, and then we come up here and talk about it. So to me, it's just my personal thing. It's not, the impact's not by asking the question, it's whatever happens out of that decision is what I mean by that.
Copy. And I'm just trying to track the examples you use. You mentioned the daycare situation and the trash situation. When those things got brought to the agenda, we give marching orders to staff whether or not to move forward to, I know your example was just an example with eliminating HR.
Right.
The front end load is not the time and effort. It's if majority of council decides to take trash to go out to bid or remove the daycare. And that night that we did the thing with daycare, the majority of council voted to do what it did, and staff does what majority of council does. So I don't see the impact to the budget on, you know, a single member asking staff to add something to the agenda. Staff, like this item that got to the agenda tonight was an item that, like you mentioned, you put on there. The heavy lifting would be if majority of council said, hey, let's change all this, then staff goes in there and prepares the resolution and does the things to change it, and rightfully so. If majority of council says to do it, they're going to do it. I don't see any impact to the budget on the front end, whether it's the daycare or the trash, just by adding something to the agenda. I don't think Public Works or the city manager is going to do any heavy lifting to put out something to bid until majority of council votes to put it out to bid. You know?
No, I couldn't agree more. I said it has nothing to do with the question. It's about the item that's going to be changing drastically the budget, if the item itself is. And the daycare was placed on the agenda because I asked for it to be placed on the agenda because it was not talked about in a public forum at all. Same thing with the sanitation, was not talked in a public forum at all. Maybe previous council has, I'm sure, but this council has not. So I'm not, again, I agree, it's not, I ask questions all the time, but the question's not the problem, it's in my opinion, it's the item that we're discussing that will be a big ticketed item that will drastically change the budget. Whether we stay in-house or put it out for bid, that changes the budget. Whatever comes back at the next council meeting when we get that briefing, it's going to change the budget. Or if we send it out for RFQ, RFP, it's going to change the budget. That's what I'm saying, the item, not the question.
I just want to say something in this debate as well, that this last part here, the way that you explain it makes way more sense to me personally than the way that this is written.
Right.
When I read this, it's basically like nobody's allowed to say anything to anyone to do anything.
Yeah, I don't.
By themselves.
Right, and I'm not a lawyer. I don't know how to like wordsmith everything.
No,
So that was what I was hoping when I sent it. He would make me seem a lot smarter
My
than.
biggest concern.
Like, do your thing.
My biggest concern would just be that, you know, say we wanted to do this, and then we put this into action, and then all of a sudden now Councilwoman Riley is violating the charter because she said X to Y.
Right. No,
You know
it's
what I
not.
mean?
Yeah, talking is
And I
not
know
the
that
issue.
that's not your intention.
Right.
I just feel the way it's written is different from what
Yeah.
you're saying.
I believe the intent is you don't want any council member to direct any action be taken outside of a council meeting to, would this be what your intention is to either cut back on a department, remove a department, or to take any action that would result in the termination of the employees? Is that kind of what you're getting at? Is that?
I mean, it's already in the charter that council members are not allowed to direct staff to do anything. Right?
Well, then remove the staff part and keep the chartered officers part in there.
Okay.
Because we can direct them.
Absolutely. Yeah, Miss Riley. Oh, go ahead.
Interrupt you.
No, go ahead. I said Miss Riley.
Yeah. Okay, I don't really actually have a question, but I'm trying to wrap my head around what Logan is saying, and Councilman, Browning. Sorry for that. But I just wanted to say, because when you mentioned it about the sanitation component part of it, honestly, I didn't know anything about that myself. So I'm trying to, again, understand what you're saying. So in other words, you're saying when something like that transpire, that should be discussed with the council prior to the public even mentioning anything like that. Is that what I'm hearing you say? Because I didn't think it was any transparency in there when you brought it up. Because I'm like, well, what are you talking about? You know, transportation being bidded out. I'm in the blind on that.
Right. Yeah.
So is that what you? Am I on the right track on that?
Yeah, I feel if it's something like that, if we're going to talk about sending out for RFP or out for bid, then it gets brought up to the board in a public forum for transparency, and then we vote on, does council even want to do that? Not an individual person, does council as a body?
I got you.
Wants to do it.
Okay.
Councilman Schmidt.
Procedural wise, doesn't majority of council have to vote to put something like trash out to bid?
Sure.
So I'm trying to figure out what's not happening in the sunshine.
But I didn't say anything's not happening in the sunshine. The whole conversation about it, like the topic itself, who, like, I won't say who, but it's why are we getting emailed about possibly sending this out for bid when 4 people did not say we're interested in sending this out for bid?
And nothing's going out to bid until majority of council decides whether or not it's going to
I know, but that's not, my question is, why are we talking about it if 4 people did not say we want to talk about it? Like, or why is the legwork being done at all if majority council didn't vote on getting it done?
So your intention is to stop the pre-legwork that's not discussed in here.
Right.
And make everything something that's discussed.
On the narrow list of items, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
But I mean, staff, whether it's public safety or anybody, they do a lot of drafting ordinances, drafting things all the time before any of us making a decision. So I'm just trying to better understand the situation, because that would eliminate staff from like having to do any pre-work on drafting I mean, majority of ordinances I've seen come up here has been worked by staff. They present to us, hey, do y'all want an ordinance for school zone cameras? Do y'all want an ordinance for whatever it is? And then we make a decision, yay or nay. Staff says, okay, on whatever our decision is. So I mean, whether it's the CEO or the directors, they're constantly strategizing on what they think needs to go in front of council.
True.
Council will decide based off a majority of vote. If it's in favor, they keep moving forward on putting out to bid or creating an ordinance to put school zone cameras or whatever it may be. So,
But they're not directed by one individual council member to do that.
nobody's directing.
I'm not saying that they are, but
I mean, if there is, like, let's talk about it. But,
I agree.
I mean, staff all the time brings information to council that there's legwork on the front end that they do without council's approval because they think it's necessary to bring it to the board.
Yes, ma'am.
So did staff decide, is that something that the staff was maybe trying to analyze the data or whatever and say, okay, we're going to bring this for the council for the bid, put an RFP out or whatever for the sanitation? Is that something staff prior to you, or is that something that just leaked out into the, to the city? Because
Same as you. I have no idea.
yeah, that's what. So I understand what you're saying.
Well, I'll share
Is this
how
a
I
legal
got
effort?
information. I guess y'all don't read the weekly status reports. I mean, we get communicated regularly, and it's the most communication that we've ever gotten from a CEO that I've worked with in 10 years. We get status reports from our CEO that shares interest in things that they are interested in evaluating. And that information is being evaluated, whether it's daycare, whether it's trash, whether it's public safety ordinances. There's a long list of things in our weekly report that we get. Trash is being brought up a lot tonight. That was one of them that was in our weekly status report months ago. And we have not taken any action on it. Not one person has single directed anybody to do it. So I'm not following paragraph 6.2.
Councilman, I think what they're referring to, or at least I think what Mr. Browning is referring to, is why that information was in that initial status report. Like, where did that come from? Was that Mr. Davis's own accord, or had members of the council directed him to look into it, to investigate the situation, to evaluate the cost, not to actually bring back formal bids, et cetera, et cetera? That's at least just
Yeah,
what I think.
and if I had not have read the weekly reports, I wouldn't even be talking about sanitation right now, so.
All right, so anyone else have any additional questions on any of these items?
I don't have any additional questions, Amir, but I know I had asked for historical data on that, and if it was going out for RFP.
And when we get to that,
when it was brought up,
we will definitely have it.
Yeah.
And I know at the next meeting, we are going to have a presentation on sanitation, so.
And Mayor, before a motion is made, because you did point out that, and I'm not trying to say Mr. Browning worded these in a way that was confusing, but because I didn't make any changes to it, because I wanted to see what the council's direction would be. I think I would ask that y'all consider them one at a time on the vote, and then if y'all pass any of them, we'll bring back something for y'all to actually consider at the next meeting that incorporates the item before it actually becomes part of the resolution.
Okay. I will first ask if any member of the public wishes to speak on this item at all. Seeing none, council, anybody wish to make a motion?
I make a motion to adopt changes to paragraph 6.1 of resolution 2025-29.
I'll second it.
A motion made by Councilman Browning, seconded by Councilwoman Riley to approve the proposed changes to resolution 2025-29 in paragraph 6.1. Any additional comments?
I do.
Mr. Brown?
So this will, if we go that motion, we're at 6.1, right?
Yep.
So we're doing individually okay, I'll wait. 6.1, I'm good. I'll wait to the other one.
Okay.
And
And Mr. Burns did say each one of these would just be an initial approval, and each one of these would be reworded into legalese that is still able to be understood.
6.1 is pretty clear what's asking, but the rest of them,
Statements only, not questions. What you got? Councilman Jeter.
I will support the motion. Years ago, we would be here really, really late, and I think it was you that suggested adding some up front so that we could speak to some of the
100%.
directors and some people early on. Whether you speak in the beginning or speak at the end, you can speak on as many topics as you would like or want. I think with the new city manager and some of the meetings are going a little faster, I could go either way on this one. I'll support the motion.
I believe tonight no one spoke up front. It took
no
less
one used
than
them
10
tonight.
seconds. So, I don't see the point, but I'm going to vote. What you got?
Okay, just, if there's, you're not too concerned either way, is there any flexibility with the person who made the motion to remove the second council comments and keep the first?
Sure.
Well, no, it's Councilman Merrill made the motion.
Okay.
Or no, I'm sorry, you did. My bad. You talked and that's what.
Okay.
All right, so
Who made the
Councilman
motion, Mr. Browning?
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he did.
Mr. Browning, would you amend the motion for it to read, removing the second round of council comments instead of the first round?
Yeah, I'm in the motion to remove the second round of council comments, but keep the first.
All right. So we have a
And Mr. Merrill, do you?
amended motion and a second. And we've had some opportunity to discuss, so please vote. And the motion does pass 5-1. Need another motion if we're going to take any action on any of the other paragraphs.
I move we adopt the verbiage for paragraph 6.2 of resolution 2025-29.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion made by Councilman Browning, seconded by Councilman Merrill for the proposed changes to Resolution 2025-29 for paragraph 6.2. Any additional comments?
And just for clarification, if I make this change, I'll be removing the part that says council members can add any items. It'll go back to the old, how it read before.
Gotcha. Comments, Councilman Schmidt?
Yeah, I'm not going to support this, mainly because, I mean, since this has been amended in 2 years, I haven't seen anybody abuse this. I would entertain, like, restricting it to not add any more than one item for each agenda, but like Mr. Browning mentioned, one of the things that he was advocating for, or at least trying to stay in front of, was like the daycare situation. He was able to add that very quickly to the agenda and discuss that, and there was some action taken. So I've been a part of councils where the politics, for whatever reason, there was a majority council that didn't want to get things added to the agenda. And man, I think one of the closest accesses that the residents have to getting to the agenda is their representative. If I was seeing some behaviors where every meeting there was 4 or 5 items being added to the agenda by 1 or 2 council people, I would like to consider modifying this, but because of that, I won't be supporting this.
Thank you, sir. Councilman Jeter.
I will not be supporting the motion as well for many of the same reasons as Councilmember Schmidt. I think it's very beneficial to be able to add an agenda item for a lot of the reasons that you said earlier, and it gives, if you say tonight during your council minute that you would like to put something on an agenda 2 weeks from now, that gives everybody clarification as to what you're trying to do, what you're trying to accomplish. It gives everybody else 2 weeks to really know what's coming up on the agenda. And I think it's very beneficial also, like Councilmember Schmidt said, we are up here to represent the people. The closest thing that people can do is to let us know what they're seeing, hearing, feeling. And if we can't listen to them and get that put on the agenda, I don't think that's very productive. So I think, and it has not been abused. It's been on here for 2 or 3 years and it's not been abused. I think it currently sits at 1 item per meeting already.
And actually, I don't think
Or does it? I remember when we discussed it 2 or 3 years ago and we changed it, I thought we said 1 per meeting.
no limit was actually put in there in 6.2. Y'all did discuss, I do remember that. I went back and listened to it, but it never actually got formally put into it. Y'all wanted to see if it would be abused or not, and so y'all didn't actually put the limitation in there.
So we didn't limit it, it still hadn't been abused, but.
Anyone else? Comments? Council, please vote. The motion is tied. I'm going no. All right, if we want the other 2, need a motion again.
I make a motion to adopt changes to paragraph 11.1 of the resolution 2025-29.
Do we have a second? Motion made by Council Member Browning, for the proposed changes to 2025-29 to add the language from paragraph 11.1, seconded by Ms. Riley. Any questions on this from the council? Anyone from the public wish to speak on this item? Council, please vote. The motion does carry 4-2. All right, one left. Mr. Browning, if you so choose.
I move we adopt the new paragraph, the resolution 2025-29, with removing city staff. I'm trying to think.
Reworded by Mr.
Reworded by Mr. Burns.
Fair.
And as part of the rewording, can we put an exception for providing legal advice?
Yes.
To the councilman?
Motion, do we have a second?
A second.
Motion made by Councilman Browning, seconded by Councilwoman Riley to move forward with this new paragraph added to Resolution 2025-29 and some changes made by the city attorney. Additional comments?
This is being brought back to us after this to review. I just want to make sure this doesn't make it more cumbersome. Everything I'm supporting here is in the idea of transparency, but at the end of it, when we hear it the second time, and if there's any research done, if you find anything that makes this more cumbersome to do city business, I would have more of a problem with it. But as long as it's not, and it's just providing transparency, I would be in support. So I'll support it here, but when we come back, if you come up with anything as you're rewording it and you're like, Mr. Davis, and you guys see this become more cumbersome, we would like to know if down the road you see an issue.
Yeah, no, I want to keep the weekly meetings. That's, I get a lot of feedback and input from all of you. You bring good ideas, and I want to keep this. So I think that it will help with my weekly reports that if somebody does bring one of these type of big ticket items, if you will, I'll say a council person has suggested this, then you can talk about putting it on the agenda the next time. Or if it's my own creation, I'll just say, this is what I want to do.
So I'll make it clear that it does not interfere with the city manager's charter and contractual responsibilities, that he can generate his own ideas too.
That's awesome.
I think that'll clear a lot of that up. I feel like we're doing this already, but maybe there's just some cloudiness and I can clean that up, so that's on me. I can wear that. Yeah, none to it.
Can I ask a clarification question too? Because, so is this supposed to be limited to take any action to direct any charter officer to take an action to any action that would result in the removal of any employees or termination of the employee? Is that kind of, because I know the discussion was on 2 items that ultimately would have been something along those lines.
I don't want to get into terminating employee. That's the city manager's job.
I don't think so either. I think that's getting too much involved
Yeah.
today. Mr. Davis, that's what we have you here for.
Thank you.
Council, please vote.
Bless you. Bless you. Bless you.
And the motion does carry unanimously, which moves us to city manager reports.
Well, the first thing on that 12.1, Jeff, if you want to speak to that, but that's regarding the reverter clause on this property, so an executive session will be here in the city manager conference room. They have to attend that, correct?
Yeah, and I'll do the statutory announcement here in a second. I can do it right now if you want.
By all means.
All right, so at 5 p.m. on January 27th, 2026, there will be an executive session called here at City Hall to take place in the city manager's conference room in the case of Jackson Land Company versus City of Fort Walton Beach, formerly known as Town of Fort Walton Beach, case number 2024 CA 3512 in the Circuit Court of Oakland County, Florida. The individuals that will be present are the city manager, city attorney, all members of the city council, including the mayor, and a licensed court reporter who will transcribe the entire proceedings, and which will be released at the end of the litigation. And that's all I have.
Moving on, some fun things. We are now in possession of the police department boat. It's physically in the city of Fort Walton Beach, so Chief Page will coordinate a christening, if you will, so you'll be invited to that. Audit services, we will be going out for a bid for that, and somebody from council has to physically be on that board. Can you speak to
Yeah,
that?
that'll come to you guys at the next council meeting. I'm still kind of reviewing and figuring, it's my first rodeo, so to speak, on bringing about audit services, but there has to be some kind of committee, and one member from council has to head up that committee. No city employee is allowed to be on the committee. I'm at the advisory portion of the board, and I think that the council member appoints, it's 3 to 5 people from the community, but I'm still researching it and it'll all come back. Just wanted to give you guys a heads up, it'll all come back because they're up for renewal this year, so.
So one of the first things when I first started, I was asked to look into putting that back out and expanding that search because the language, so you corrected the language earlier where we can expand the local preference too, so good job. Fireman Leonard, that the event is on this coming Saturday, starting at the block and going to Harley Davidson fundraiser. That I gotta really mention the Harley Davidson group, the Fast Signs group, and the block group. I mean, they're going above and beyond to help this individual. So really nice to see the community come together on that. Martin Luther King Jr. Parade on Monday, starting here and then making its way over to Chester Pruitt. Good stuff there. On January 24, the next city-sponsored cleanup on Lovejoy will be taking place. You'll see some postings on that. We're going to start at, I already forgot the name of that school. You'll tell me 40 times and I'll forget 41 times. But we'll start at the school in Lovejoy and work a mile in each direction. Okaloosa Academy, that's what I said. And then golf course, Doggy has been identified. His name is Mashy. He's being trained. He'll be part of that PGA program, so kind of cool thing. Jacob's grooming him. And then some of our 3% issues that we've uncovered just this week. Tim has been hustling hard trying to figure out where we're losing business tax receipts because people are starting businesses and they're just not coming here. So we cannot bring a company on that will track that down for us because of the 3% cap. So we're losing about $170,000 potentially. Open house for fire rescue, I have to kind of be a jerk and stop that this year because I don't know how our monies are going to trend throughout the year. So we're going to punt on that. It's a cool event where the public can come to the firehouse and see, we set stuff on fire and they can see, how the stuff works and how the fire department operates. So unfortunately, we're going to punt on that until we're more comfortable. IT has several servers that need to be updated and those sorts of things, and that just opens us up for all kinds of issues that I'd rather not navigate, but we need to buy a lot of new stuff. And the grant that you approved earlier for the FCCMA intern, we don't pay the grant, the intern out of that grant. It comes out of our operations. So there could be a potential where we're just going to turn away free employment because of the cap. It's just really handcuffing ourselves. So just, again, things we're trying to keep that education campaign going. And then I'll maybe get to do the first Billy Bowlegs plug, but we've started planning that event and they want to go big, so I'm excited to see some of the cool changes. I've never seen one myself, so we're starting and I think it's going to be epic. That's all I got.
Thank you, sir. City attorney reports. You already did. You good? Final council comments. Start again with Councilman Brown.
Yeah, I was going to mention the community convoy this Saturday. It's a pretty awesome thing for that firefighter who lost his wife. And then I was going to ask, do we have a plan to do a strategic planning workshop?
We're about to start to talk about budget on Thursday, so
Awesome.
we'll update next meeting.
Yes is the answer. I started too late in the year to have that.
Right.
We had some verbal conversations, right? So we've drafted a new strategic plan based on your input. But if you want to do another, I was just going to use what you gave me in August, as this year's. But if you want to do another one, we can. We used the previous strategic plan for this past year's budget. We didn't use the cool new one that we made. But if you want to do another one, absolutely we can. But I need to get that sooner than later.
Right.
Usually, I think, what is it, Kim? Is it in April that we normally do it, beginning April? If council wants to do another one.
But I don't want to wait that long because we have, between navigating the governor, getting rid of property tax and those sorts of things, I'd rather plan that. If you want to have another strategic planning input session, I'd rather shoot for February, March, the latest.
Okay. That's all I got, Mayor.
Thanks, sir. Councilwoman DeBerry.
No comments.
All right, thank you. Councilman Jeter.
No comments on the last ever final
Potentially. Councilman Mayor. All right, Councilwoman Riley.
I certainly have to make a comment here, so thank you so much for allowing me to do so. I want to thank Mr. Davis, Kim, and the staff for putting on a wonderful, wonderful holiday luncheon for the employees of the city. It was an honor for me to be there and to be present, to see the wonderful employees that we have. And sometimes we don't know what we have until we just really, we observe and we kind of look around and we talk and we listen to others. And I believe that I can truly say that we have a dedicated staff. And I want to continue to thank you all, because for me, looking around, and everybody was excited, they were happy, they seemed like they were enjoying themselves, and it just made me feel good that we have city employees that, that are thankful, for the opportunity to come together like that from all of the department and across the city and have a beautiful luncheon together. So thank you again for inviting me. I really enjoyed it.
We have just to clarify, we have a super cool events committee that drives all that. I'm just along for the ride.
Okay.
There's like 10 people on that, so yeah, they do a good job.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you.
Councilmember Schmidt.
Since I made the comment publicly, I also want to publicly apologize. The competitor came into me and apologize, Mr. Mayor, as far as presiding over the meeting with Robert's rules and those kind of things. I know we have these kind of comments regularly throughout the 10 years, but that probably you preside however you want to. And again, I just want to apologize for that.
I appreciate it. The offense statement.
This Friday, there is a grand opening for Epicide that's going to be inside of the city of Fort Walton Beach, more specifically in Uptown Station. They do advanced artificial intelligence for automated military systems. And it's going to be a lot of higher wage, higher skilled jobs that we need more in this community so that more people can afford to live and to play and to stay in our great city. Also, too, I know it mentioned in the CRA meeting, but I just want to reiterate this. I know Paige has been watching it or working before current city manager, but if we can do anything to try to mitigate the amount of signs on the Eglin Parkway resurfacing project with FDOT staff, I don't know if we need a motion or a second, but if there's any objections by council to not task staff to do this, but trying to mitigate if we can not have all of the wrong way signs on Eglin Parkway that are very similar to racetrack. Those kind of things. That's right, you weren't in the Sierra. Yeah. So understand it's code and the state, those are state roads and state code, but whatever we can do to try to mitigate the signs everywhere. And then holiday lunch. Want to piggyback or copy and paste what Councilwoman Ms. Riley Broadnax mentioned. To see Nicole and to see Jason serve, both the chiefs and leadership, Tim, Ms. Barnes, it was a really neat effort just to see leadership serve. And I don't know what the turnout was, but there's probably, 100, 200 employees that came through there to eat. Again, it was an awesome model of leadership and servant leadership, so shout out to y'all on that. And that's all I got, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, sir. Everyone's mentioned everything I was going to say, so we'll leave it at that.
Nothing to it.